Welcome to Administrative Leadership 777, Leadership in Multicultural Organizations. I'm Carol Colbeck, the instructor for this course. Anita Samuels, a teaching intern who's providing technical assistance. During this 10-minute presentation, I'm going to quickly go over the following: some key definitions for our course, an overview of the reading workflow, how you can apply the readings for the discussions, assignments, and then for your future life, our schedule for the first week, and then I'm going to introduce myself in ways that are examples for how I hope you will be introducing yourselves in the first individual paper and as part of your first week's discussion. Key definitions for our course include leadership in multicultural organizations. Northouse defines leadership as a process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to a common goal. And Cox distinguishes plural organizations where there's a number of people from diverse backgrounds from multicultural organizations, which may still contain the same diversity, but folks actually value the diversity. And for this course on leaders in multicultural organizations, we'll consider diversity in several ways: with race, ethnicity, nationality, social class, gender, sexual orientation, and generation. We'll also consider several types of leaders, including positional leaders with formal organizational roles, as well as emergent leaders who may exert influence even though they don't have a formal role. We'll also consider that individuals at any level in an organizational hierarchy can be leaders, not just those at the top. Our text for this class is Peter Northhouse's Leadership, Theory and Practice, 7th edition, which provides a good overview of many of the leadership theories. But because the originators of most of these theories were white men from North America, we'll also read articles that consider the theories and concepts from diverse perspectives. After the first week's introduction to the course, we'll go to the end of the book to consider two things. First, leadership on teams, because your discussion groups are teams, and that will help inform your work together. And second, chapters on multicultural and gender issues in leadership that will then inform much of our discussion of all of the theories throughout the rest of the course. We'll apply what we're learning from the readings and each other in two ways. First, understanding ourselves better and more as leaders in multicultural organizations. And second, to addressing dilemmas, sometimes called wicked problems, in multicultural organizations. Your first short paper and your weekly journal reflections on the readings will constitute a first draft of your final individual paper in which you consider yourself as a leader in light of the theories of leadership and concepts of multiculturalism. For the second group paper, the final assignment as a group project, you'll co-author an analysis of this wicked problem, campus climate at Oceanside University. We have a lot of work to do together this summer, but it will be doable because every bit of work we do leads to the final two papers, the individual and the group paper. So if at all possible, I encourage you to complete your readings for each week before the start of the week, so that you can be ready to have your journal written by Monday night and be ready to engage in discussions with your group mates about the case study. But for this first week, there won't be a journal at the beginning of the week, but the prior experiences with leadership paper due on Friday. This first week, in your discussion board, I'll want you to introduce yourself to your group members with photos, provide your initial response to the campus climate at Oceanside University case study, and volunteer to summarize for 1.5 weeks. 1 week by yourself and perhaps 1 week sharing the responsibility with a group member. Then on Wednesday through Friday, in the discussion board, you'll continue the conversation with each other, replying to at least one more question and or responding to 1 or 2 group mates' responses. And then at the end of this first week, you'll submit your first individual paper to the Dropbox. And then on Monday, we begin again with the first journal entry, 300 to 500 words about our readings for our readings for week 2, due on Monday night at midnight. As a way of introducing myself, I'll answer the questions I want you to address in your first paper, prior experiences in leadership, due before midnight on June 3rd. So to describe my identity, I was born in the U.S., California to be exact. I'm a white female, born into the lower middle class. I'd say it's solidly middle class now, and I'm a baby boomer. An important leadership influence for me as an undergraduate was a professor, Robert McAfee Brown, who himself had contradictions and embraced difference and contradictions in others. When I was an undergraduate, it was a very complicated time in our nation's history as folks were dealing with and protesting the Vietnam War. And it was also a wonderful time where the Black is Beautiful movement was flowering. I myself had 1 white and 2 black roommates and a black boyfriend during my freshman year. But back to Dr. Brown. He honored all that he encountered, and he provided thoughtful answers for everybody's questions, no matter how dumb. In fact, he was so skilled at making everybody feel that they were important. A later leadership experience was when I was director of the YWCA Parent Education Program. And I was facilitating a class of 21 court-referred parents, folks who had lost custody of their children due to abuse or neglect. I developed an exercise related to identity in parenting, where I asked each person to reflect on where they considered themselves to be from, what they considered their ethnic identity to be, and what from those elements of their background did they most want to bring into their relationships with their children, and what did they least want to bring into those relationships. The discussion that ensued was very powerful for all of us. And places where we seemed similar, we saw differences, and places where we thought we were different, we found many similarities. In conclusion, these experiences contributed to my interest in learning more, both about leadership and about diverse colleagues and friends. I certainly wanted to know more than what the dominant perspective explained about leadership, because I didn't fit that perspective. And with Dr. Brown, I learned to want to listen more effectively with respect, because it opens doors to learning and collaboration. As another way of introducing myself, I'll share a brief summary of some personal leadership experiences, just as I will ask you to do in your first post to introduce yourself to the members of your group. I'll be concluding with photos of my kids and my husband and me. I encourage you to share a personal photo or 2 in your introduction as well. I grew up and raised 2 sons in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is a very multicultural area. Good for me, good for my children. I became director of the Parent Education Program at the YWCA in 1985 when my kids were in elementary school. And then I started graduate school at Stanford at age 38 in 1989, 16 years after I'd finished my undergrad work. From there, I went on to Penn State, first as an assistant professor, where I got tenure, and soon thereafter became director of the Center for the Study of Higher Education. I'm very proud of the fact that we did some wonderful research, and that during my tenure, our ranking in U.S. News and World Report rose from number 3 to number 1 in the nation. I loved Central Pennsylvania. It was beautiful but protected, and I longed for a more multicultural area, so I accepted the opportunity to go to UMass Boston, the only public university in the Boston area, as Dean of Education in 2007. The student population at UMass Boston is more than 40% underrepresented students, It's like a mini United Nations walking across that campus. From there, I came here to UWM as Dean of Education in 2011, a crazy time for education here in Wisconsin. And since 2013, I've really enjoyed going back to being a professor for all of the opportunities to learn with and from my students. I do have a personal life. I love to run and do other things with my wonderful husband, Bob. And I enjoy visiting our sons in California and New York City. And just to give you a sense of who they are, there's Kevin, Jeff, and Betsy, Jeff's fiance, and Jeff's daughter, my granddaughter, Sophia. And there's Bob and me in Central Park near where Kevin lives. So now I'm eager to get to know all of you much better too. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to the summer with you.